You are listening to the Mary Jane Society podcast, where you will meet entrepreneurs, cultivators, scientists, doctors, and inventors in the cannabis industry.
I'm your host, Pam Schmiel, marketer and publicist in the cannabis industry. A well-known cattle rancher and craft lettuce farmer in the tiny town of Millerton, New York, teamed up to join the cannabis industry and launched the brand Alchemy Pure. I spoke to Chris Regan, Alchemy Pure's head grower and co-founder. We talked about what makes them stand out, their plans for launching a line of tinctures and gummies into the marketplace, and how they plan to establish their brand and compete with the West Coast cultivators once the borders open up. Let's meet Chris. If you could give us a little background on you and your partner, Jerry Peel, who has Herondale Cattle Farm, and you had a very well-known high-end lettuce farm, and can you just give us like your little backstory?
Yeah.
Both of your very successful, well-known businesses up there. And let me just add one thing in. When I came back last week, I ran into my neighbor from seeing you guys. I ran into my neighbor next door, and she's like, "Oh, where are you coming from?" Like, blah, 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 Millerton and Herondale Farms. She's like, "Herondale Farms?" They had a house up there.
Cool.
I love Herondale Farms. We buy their whatever.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jerry, Jerry has been raising livestock, sheep and cattle and chickens for many years. I think his farm is probably 20 years old now, something like that. Mm-hmm. And he's still got that operation going. I was growing salad greens for restaurants for basically the last 30 years. 25 of them as Sky Farm in Millerton. And we were well known in the Hudson Valley. I did a fair amount of business down in Manhattan back in the early days, but the Hudson Valley, became such a mecca for good dining that I ended up being able to stay closer to home, which was great. And that's mostly what I did was produce salad that went to chefs, high-end restaurants and some retail outlets. And, that was a great way to make a living. I wasn't getting rich, but I was enjoying myself, and it kept me in all the things I needed for, that long, 25 years. And ever since 2018, I've been growing cannabis. So the last 6 years, I guess, I was growing cannabis both for CBD hemp and for CBD smokable flower for before the THC was legal last year. So I've been doing that for a while and just fell in love with the plant from day one. Really enjoyed working with it. It's just an amazing plant, and it's been exciting. It's been fun. I'm learning a ton. I've got a ton to learn. So we've really enjoyed it.
There seems like there's so many nuances to growing. And have you ever thought about partnering up with Cornell University and their agriculture program? I know I've seen another farmer do that, and other farmers in other states do that kind of thing, as far as being their farm that they're studying, I guess. I know they're like one of the top agricultural universities in the country that are doing that kind of thing. Just curious.
Absolutely. Research. Yeah. No, I haven't, but I know that they're pretty involved in the hemp space from the beginning. So I'm sure that they've got farmers closer to them that they're working with. Yeah, we're pretty far from Cornell, but
I guess that's true. You have to be close by them. That's true.
I'm sure they would prefer that, I bet.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I just think it's a great opportunity working with the research universities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So how did you, I guess you and Jerry know each other just from being, in the same industry and, agriculture and all that. And so how did you guys, what was the moment when you both said, let's start a pot farm together?
Right. Well, we've been neighbors because we're only about 5 miles apart for all this time, but we weren't really even, we weren't even what you'd call social friends. We knew of each other, basically. But he knew when I started the hemp the first season, he wasn't doing anything like that. And he wanted to get into hemp the next year, 2019. So, we were running into each other a lot just before that point, and that was sort of it. He wanted to get into it, so I helped him get his grow set up that first year. And then, we worked together for a year on his grow, and it seemed like a good match. It seemed like a good fit. And so we just, had our eyes on the upcoming adult use market and figured we'd try, see if we could get a license, et cetera.
Best to have someone partner in a situation like this, trying to figure all this out too, and try to do it.
You're not kidding. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to take on. And I just like to be out in the field working. I like to be actually growing. And so having Jerry, being the business side of it and taking care of all the red tape and all of that. I mean, we've got a much bigger team than that now because we have to, but just the planning. I mean, we spent 2 years really developing, our plans and getting a good vision of what we wanted to do and setting things up. It's a long process to really to jumpstart a brand and to jumpstart a farm like this, and to try to navigate all the bureaucratic stuff. So it was good. I couldn't have done it alone. I would have gone crazy.
Yeah. Especially the way things are going now. So basically right now you just have a grower license, cultivation license, and you're going to be going for the manufacturing license. So what products, so basically now what does the law allow you to sell and
right.
your line right now?
Yeah, we each have our own license essentially. So because we each had a hemp license, so we have 2 conditional cultivation licenses right now in New York, and excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So we're authorized to grow and to distribute to retail dispensaries flower and pre-rolls. That's all right now that we can do, but from the very beginning, we were trying to imagine building a brand that would include more than that. So we're going to apply for a processing license. It's processing manufacturing, and hopefully be able to get that sometime in the next 6 months, 9 months. I don't know how long it's going to take for the state to review applications. Applications are coming on pretty quickly here in the next 2 weeks or something like that. Mm-hmm. So that's our plan, and to set up a solventless lab and a kitchen so that we can take some of our product, some of our grow in the early years, and run it into hash, live rosin, as well as developing a simple line of edibles that will be either using the hash or the rosin or both as a source. So, we'll probably continue to try to produce high quality flower, which is our goal right now, and high quality pre-rolls, but transition into solventless based concentrates and edibles. Yeah, which we're really looking forward to. I mean, we've been researching it for years. We don't actually have any experience ourselves with it, so we're also going to be looking for some expertise there as well. But yeah, that's exciting, and I think that's if we can get there, if we can position ourselves and have our brand accepted, and we can make good quality or great quality concentrates, et cetera, it's an opportunity in New York to sort of build a business around that. I think everyone expects that flower prices are what they are right now. They may change in the short run based upon more dispensaries opening, but in the long run, flower prices settle quite a bit. So it's good to have, a strategy for sort of outliving that moment when the guys who are, growing 100,000 acres under lights come into the market and depress prices and all of that. So right now we're having a ball. I'm having a blast growing flower and, really enjoying it. And I hope to be working with the plant in that way long term, but we're also trying to imagine how we can survive the days in which the ROs and others come in and just swamp the market with flower. It's a big state, though. It's a big state.
It's a big state. It's a big state, and it's going to take a lot of hard work to get that brand really known. And I guess staying in the lane of craft and solventless, is probably there's going to be a big market for that once people really understand what all that is. So, so right now you can only sell pre-rolls, and I know you're doing pre-rolls with kief, right? That's what you're allowed to do. Can you tell us how you get your kief? But like, what is the process of getting your kief?
Sure. When the flower's dried, all of the trichomes, which are the glands that hold the resin, which holds the cannabinoids and the flavonoids and the terpenes, those can break off just, when you're trimming the bud by hand, or when you're trimming it in a machine, or they tend to fall off to some degree. That's the kief after it's fallen off. Usually kief has got a little bit of plant matter in it too, for the same reason. We're taking it literally from the tray that we're hand trimming over, as well as doing some tumbling of other forms of like shake or trim. We can then run it through a screen and try to get more of the kief, take the kief away from the plant matter. So that's pretty much what we're doing. And yeah, we're infusing pre-rolls, a few different strains of pre-rolls with kief, just to boost the THC, boost the fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and all those great things that are in there. Yeah. So, and then what about genetics? Like, how did you start with that? Or, I guess when in the hemp world, when you were in the hemp space, if you could just tell us about your genetics, where you're sourcing the seeds, or why you chose those genetics.
Yeah, it's challenging. I mean, there are a lot of good breeders. There are a lot of amazing work that's being done and has been done. And, I have pretty much relied on my instincts in terms of looking for good breeders and good genetics. We would love it if the Northeast had a more developed seed production system and breeding. There's a lot of underground,
breeding.
What's the word? Legacy growers who are doing their own breeding up here, and they're developing strains that can withstand this climate, that deal well with this climate. It's a little hard to get that seed as feminized seed. For me, it would be a big challenge not to be working with feminized seed on almost 2 acres. So I'm buying mostly from California, but from great breeders out there. Purple City Genetics has been the core of what I've been using these 2 years. 2020 Mendocino is another. Humboldt Seed Company is another. And then we've been getting a little bit from the Northeast that, friend of friends kind of hook us up with some stuff. But yeah, it's a challenge, and it's key. It's key to success. I mean, especially here, the weather we're having today, with the weather we typically have in the Northeast, it can be challenging not to be growing a lot of, mold, basically. So genetics matter, because some plants are very resistant, some are not resistant at all. It makes a big difference. And yeah, we've had luck both years, mixed in with less than luck. This year it's much wetter. Last year we had probably the best season we'll ever have in the Northeast for growing marijuana. It was so dry. This year is pretty much the opposite, but so far so good. We'll see. We've got another few weeks left.
Yeah, so I guess I didn't even think about your genetics, and that they need to be able to perform in certain type of weather, that's your consideration, the things you have to consider. I would never have even thought about that. And also because it's a wet climate-ish here with the mold factor and the resistance. It's interesting. I had no idea.
That's the key for me. I mean, the customer and the market, they're interested in particular strains and such, but if you can't grow it outdoors, or you can't grow it in a greenhouse in the Northeast, it's not going to help you much. So I'm trying to find interesting genetics for the customers as well. But
and you're saying that working with some of the New York,
they've got to be growable,
like the old New York strains. I don't know. Isn't New York kind of known for some specific strains? Is it Sour Diesel World or something? I really don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
About.
Yeah.
But I just have heard people say, well, the New York strains, but that's probably what they're talking about. what can actually grow here. That's probably what they're saying, right?
Yeah, well, they're talking New York diesel is a specific thing, and that was developed it was developed in New York, I guess, in the Northeast. And there are other strains that are coming out of Maine, over in Mass. I mean, ChemDog is originally from the Northeast as well.
Oh,
but to have a nursery that's producing, thousands of feminized seeds, and diesel is primarily grown indoors, even though it's a New York-based genetic. It was developed in New York, but it was indoors, and you can grow it outside. But
it's a dance.
But the breeding world is so immense. What's going on all over the world, and certainly in California, there's just all kinds of awesome stuff. I mean, a lot of selection, a lot of possibilities. We're also growing this year for extraction for our solventless. So we're going to freeze. We're going to do some fresh frozen this year. So this year I selected some strains that would work well that way, and that are meant for hash production. So there's that too, the whole other end of it.
Right. And I mean, I know the industry's new in New York, and there's only a few dispensaries open, but are you getting a sense of what customers are liking? What kind of strains they're kind of attracted to? Is there any data on that yet? Not data, but
I mean, I'm sure there is developing. I mean, not so much
what you guys are putting out. Like, are you getting feedback? You must see people going more for one than the other, and then you probably have to readjust. And
it's very interesting actually to see what becomes popular, what people want. If we put 4 different strains on a shelf, which ones sell. I mean, the sativas are definitely in demand in the state right now, and of course high potency is always in demand
everywhere.
We grew a lot of Trainwreck last year, a classic sativa strain, and that's been very popular. So we're growing that again this year. It's an awesome plant to grow. It's kind of hilarious because last year when I grew it, and anyone who's grown it knows this story probably, but it looks terrible. It looks terrible. I thought it was diseased. We actually had it tested to see if our seedlings were diseased. It looked so bad. And then at the very end, it just, comes on. It's a big old floppy plant, but it's very disease resistant and, tough as nails. And it was amazing at the end. It's a great strain.
That's cool. So as far as products that you're doing that you can do now, I thought I saw on your website you guys could do, is it fresh flower? Does your license allow you to do the rosin press with your fresh flower? You can't. It's only what breaks off. Okay. So you're going to either do a hash rosin or a live rosin. And the live rosin means that the flower is not frozen, but you press it while it's live.
No,
what is it? Live rosin.
Yeah, I mean, the live portion of that is referring to using fresh frozen. So you're taking the plant when it's still green, you're not drying it, you're freezing it as quickly as you can. And so you're getting a lot more, of everything sort of packed in there. You're not losing terpenes to the drying process. It's just essentially the whole thing. So if you take that and turn that into hash through the bubble hash making process, then you take that hash typically and put it in a rosin press. That's how you get live rosin.
Okay. It's the live, before it's frozen. It's okay, got it. It's not dried and cured. Okay, right. When it's so many variations there.
Yeah.
I want to try them all.
Yeah.
So okay, so great. So then as far as standing out, I know when I've talked to you guys before, one standout feature that a lot of farms don't have is the benefit of having your cattle farm, which gives you great fertilizer, right? That many people don't have because they just have farms. Is that right? Is that something that really makes it stand out, having cow manure in your fertilizer?
It certainly doesn't hurt.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
Access to large quantities of aged manure is definitely a good thing. Yeah.
okay, so I'm putting that in there. And I guess, yeah, I'm just looking for a standout, because, that's what you guys are trying to do in
Well,
farm.
yeah, I mean, I think what I think we're hoping to do is marry the intentions of the grow itself, of trying to really produce high quality flower and grow it with a real concern for the planet. I've been an organic farmer forever, so it's just natural for me not to be using weird stuff and trying to grow the soil. Essentially, if you have healthy soil, you're going to have healthy plants. That's the basic idea, and marry that with the solventless and the kitchen, so that we're growing our own stock. We're producing the flower we want to produce, the genetics that we want to bring into the lab and to make concentrates with, and to make edibles after that. So it's all of a piece. We're not having to go out on the market and try to find it or just buy it. We're going to do everything. We're going to grow it. We're going to get to choose what to grow, and obviously grow it as well as we can, and then try to put it through and have it come out a really clean, lovely, delicious either concentrate or edible.
Yeah. Okay, great. So what are you at Alchemy Pure thinking of working with other entrepreneurs who are looking for farms to either grow for their pre-rolls or manufacture for their edible line? How do you are you interested in working with other entrepreneurs now?
Yeah, I mean,
road maybe.
I think, right now we're talking to some friends who are starting a pre-roll brand. And we bought a really nice pre-roll making machine, so we're talking to them about making some pre-rolls for their line. I don't anticipate having more flour than we can use, either selling it as flour and or selling it as solventless. So I don't expect to be growing for others, but in the short term anyway, it's nice synergy to work with somebody with our machine, which costs a lot of money and makes really, really nice cigarettes. So, that sort of thing. There might be some small scale connections too, in terms of once we get our lab built. I don't think we're really looking to produce any of the major brands or anything. We're just not going to have the quantity of our own flour to do that. We may be able to do something in our lab for people, but it wouldn't probably be with our flour, because I think we're hoping to use that all ourselves.
Right. Okay, I didn't think about that. Makes sense. Okay, right. You have to consider all that. Either you're doing your own product or you're growing for other people and manufacturing. I've seen a couple different farms up there doing one of those scenarios. Yeah, okay, makes sense. And how is it going with as we wrap it out here, how is it going with the grower showcase up there? Or is that helping while you're trying to survive this ridiculous rollout?
Yeah, we're in a few of them now. Staten Island, Brooklyn, there's one in the Albany area, and there's one that's about to start in Hudson, and we're in our own little hometown one in Millerton. They're all getting kind of off to a slow start, but that's understandable. I think it's going to take a little time for people to recognize, oh, this is happening, and it's happening every week and all of that. So we're hoping,
Okay.
And it doesn't hurt. It's like we're fortunate enough to be in a bunch of dispensaries. Unlike some growers, we've had that good fortune of being able to get into dispensaries, but it'd be nice to have more market.
Right. And what is the next roll? I know they just approved or let a few more through. What is the status there? Are there, I guess it's the October 4th, like, new submission for licenses, or are there any new discoveries coming out right now?
No, as I understand it, the lawsuit that's holding up the conditional dispensary rollout is pretty set in stone at this point. I think the judge is allowing on a case-by-case basis dispensaries that can claim they were pretty much through the whole process when the injunction came. They're willing to look at them on a case-by-case basis, but they really seem resistant to letting anything happen. So that might be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know, dispensaries that will be opening in the next month or 2. So it seems to me that the adult use conditional dispensary license program is pretty much on hold, which is really tragic for all the people that, they got licenses. They thought they could go ahead. They even got beyond that. They got approval for their site. So now they're all building, spending a ton of money building out. And then this happens. It's just incredibly bad.
I know, it's incredible.
But now the state, is about to issue applications for the rest of the adult use licensed enterprise. And that's who knows how long that'll take. I'm sure it'll take a matter of 4 to 6 months at a minimum before the first applications are processed, more than likely. Yeah, I mean, they have to review incoming. It's a lot of work for the bureaucracy to deal with, and all of those are coming online at once. And I don't think that they're limiting the numbers of them. I mean, they may limit the numbers they look at, but it's still going to be it's going to be time. So I think the dispensaries we have now are the dispensaries we're going to have for at least 6 to 9 more months, would be my guess. Yeah, I mean, it's only the application that's coming out on October 5th. It's not, or 4th or whatever it is. It's not it's not licenses. It's just the applications for them. Yeah.
I was wondering what that turnaround could be for all this. Oh, that's just.
I mean, I went through it in Massachusetts because I tried to get a grow there a few years back, and I think it was 6 months that our application was just being reviewed, and they were already way beyond that initial push. So we'll see.
Oh, that's incredible. Okay.
It's so sad though what's happened for a lot of growers. We're lucky to be selling something. We just barely squeezed through to the point where we're making cash flow now, but a lot of growers never got there. And all these, conditional dispensary owners that thought they were given green light, and they were, and then the carpet's yanked out from underneath them.
I know.
Just incredibly bad. There's going to be a lot of lawsuits going the other direction. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. Like we promised you this was going to happen. Put seeds in the ground, farmers. Yeah. It was a big statement out there. I'm sure there's going to be some lawsuits on that. And there should be. Yeah. There should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's
against the state like that, for like you guys like promised and go when.
I mean, it's funny because I don't. It's hard to know from the outside what the causes and such are of the fiasco. In many ways, I admire what the program tried to do. The real social equity push seemed genuine. And I think there are people in the bureaucracy that are genuinely trying to make that a reality. Mm-hmm. I also imagine, don't know for a fact, but I imagine there's a lot of pressure from, corporate cannabis, et cetera, to sort of not let all this happen quite so easily, so they have a better runway in front of them. And, it's hard to know, but it's hard to imagine that didn't play a role in all of this.
Yeah. How afraid are you at Alchemy Pure of the MSOs, the ROs coming online?
It seems to me to be a bigger impact on the dispensary owners in some ways. I mean, it depends. I don't really know what the facts are. I'm not exactly clear on how many square feet they're being given to grow on, et cetera. I mean, undoubtedly, it's going to be easier for them to produce some quality of flower at a cheaper price than it would be for somebody at our scale. And certainly than smaller scale operations. So it's a threat. I mean, again, the state had good intentions when they rolled this out. They were going to keep them at bay for a while and give small farmer and the small dispensary owner a chance to get established. But, that's not what's happening apparently.
Right.
And everyone in California is nodding their heads because I'm sure they've been through this bait and switch many times.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you afraid, or are you already working on getting your brand into or talking to any of those ROs as far as once they go, rec to sell your?
Yeah, we have not yet. We probably should be. I mean, I know that at least at one point they were going to be required to 50% of their shelf space had to be other brands. So
Great.
Yeah. But whether they'll be taking yeah. But yeah, we haven't pursued that yet. We probably will, as it makes sense to.
Right. I remember Ashley was saying you introduce pests to.
It's referred to as IPM, integrated pest management. That's really a term that refers to just a general approach, sort of counter to using a lot of chemicals to control bugs. Integrated pest management gives you a sort of pyramid of approaches, and you should look at it that way, so that you're only using, this is for the big chemical guys, you're only using, real fungicides at the point at which you have to. But for an organic grower, even it's an interesting way to look at it, because even though we wouldn't use chemical fungicides at any point, we're preventing bug problems. And mostly what we're doing on our farm, Ashley is scouting all the time. So, she's going out and shaking the plants onto a card to see what bugs are there. She's got some trap cards up so that she can see what bugs are around. And she's inspecting the plants, with a microscope or with an eyepiece, keeping an eye on the bugs. And then she's also releasing predatory bugs. So she's releasing the larvae of the lacewing, and she's releasing these specific wasp eggs and larvae and wasps that, attack a specific caterpillar that becomes a stem borer, all this stuff. So we have had almost no insect trouble, both last season and this, and primarily because she's doing her job and making sure we don't. And that's primarily what we're doing, is just releasing beneficial bugs on a schedule and based upon what she sees. And, it's been great. It's been awesome, especially in the greenhouse. That's really key. I mean, outdoors, there's a lot of pressure from predators, natural predators on those bugs. But indoors, you could have aphids just take over a greenhouse in a matter of days if you're not being careful. So.
Oh my! I know
it's fun. She's a bug farmer.
All right, great. So that's really great. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.